throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions for optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio, Stream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, our newest affiliate, iHeartRadio, and AMFM247.com. And joining me today as my co-host is the exceptional one, the exceptional conservative from Washington, D.C., Kenneth McClinton. Ken, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
It's always good to be with you, Rick, and to the great people around the country, and especially the city of Philadelphia, our city of brotherly love and Renaissance radio station headquarters for WNJC 1360.
All right, Ken, so what's on your radar screen this day, my friend?
Well, like everyone else, we're just trying to figure out when the final crash and burn will be for the Clinton campaign, Clinton 2016. Apparently, it's going to come to a prison near you someday. And quite frankly, the revelations that are coming out are drip by drip, where she's been caught up in her own lies, so much so that even the libtards can't keep her out of them. And those are about the emails and server that she illegally used at the State Department.
Well, Ken, I'm trying to find it as we speak, but actually, this isn't the first time Clintons have been involved in illegal servers. I'm trying to find an article that I saw earlier that Bill Clinton actually pardoned someone for using a private server for government work. So this isn't anything new to the Obama administration. I'm sorry, to the Clintons, that they've known how to do this for some time.
Exactly. The unfortunate thing is how loony the revelations are becoming as we go on. When we find out about Platte River, the organization that was the holder of the data for her on her server out in Colorado, virtually their data was being stored in a bathroom in the great state of Colorado on a one-bedroom facility. So literally, we have a scenario and situation where the truth is becoming more fictionally fantastical than the fantasy that was left us by and the audacity of her to make a joke about wiping the server with a dishcloth just goes to tell you the nerve and the verve of this particular family that they have themselves above the law and everyone else has to serve them. It's just amazing.
Well, I think, and once again, it shows the smugness of this woman. Oh, what do you mean, wipe the server with like a dishcloth? Or what difference does it make? Or any of the other things that she has said over times to just her smug, better than you all attitude.
Exactly. But it's really beginning to catch up with her because WND produced an article about 19 hours ago where a judge ordered an inquiry into Hillary Clinton's emails. And what's most precarious about this is that U.S. District Judge Emmett G. Sullivan said, "We wouldn't be here today if the employee, Clinton, had followed government policy." Now, this is the first time, I don't know, people exalt John Kerry and Hillary Clinton as some great vagabond intellectual, but for the first time, we really see what a Secretary of State is, an employee, and that this woman illegally, and the question is now, knowingly or unknowingly, but she illegally used the server, and the judge is saying that, quite frankly, Judicial Watch, and they've been on this program many times, is absolutely right in asserting that she, against the wishes of President Barack Obama, even, used this device without permission of the State Department or the White House.
Mm-hmm. I found what I was looking for. It was actually an article by our friend Hans von Spakovsky of Heritage Foundation. And Deutsch, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, insists she did nothing wrong by running all her government communications, including classified material, through her unsecured, homebrewed computer server. Perhaps she has forgotten one of her husband's final acts in the Oval Office, issuing a presidential pardon to former CIA Director John Deutsch. Deutsch's offense, keeping classified material in an unsecured home computer. Bingo. Bingo. So she can't plead ignorance of this. She, in my opinion, she cannot plead ignorance on this. The pardon came just as Deutsch was reportedly going to cop a plea with the Justice Department. Deutsch headed the CIA from May 95 to December 96. Several days after he left the agency, classified material was discovered on a government-owned computer at his house in Bethesda, Maryland. So,
Wow.
So here you go. You can't use the excuse that she didn't know what she was doing, because she did. Maybe that's where she got the idea.
If only we all knew that the bathroom was the best place to put our servers and computer equipment. If only we knew.
If only we knew. I don't know, Ken. Maybe that was a very good spot for it.
Exactly. But also with her assistant Huma Weiner and Cheryl Wells, eventually when they find those missing emails, wink, wink, from the State Department, as they've already found 18,000 others that were missing from Hillary Clinton recently, we're going to get into the question, and I've done this earlier this week on the show, how not exactly if she's guilty, but how many salacious charges will go against Hillary Clinton for the number of classified documents that she took with her. At count, we're at about 305, and we have only gone through 5.1% of the emails on her server. Virtually, we are looking at a woman that should be in jail for at least 600 years. Do you think folks going to wait for it?
I think a deal's already been made, Ken. I really do. I think a deal's already been made between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. I don't think she's not going to be the Democrat nominee, to be honest with you. But I would not be surprised. Ken, I've said here on that I'm very fearful of November, December, and January of 2016 and 2017. Those are the days between the election and when Barack Obama leaves office. I'm very worried, very concerned about the actions Barack Obama might take place, the executive orders, the pardons, whatever. And I would not be surprised one little bit if Barack Obama does not pardon Hillary Clinton. Again, I don't think Hillary Clinton, because of this, because of Benghazi, I think the American people are tired of Hillary Clinton. I do not think she will be the Democrat nominee. I have a feeling the Democrat nominee will be Joe Biden. I don't think it will be Hillary Clinton. But if anything good has come out of this email mess, this server mess, I think it has torpedoed her boat for the nomination. I think that's a very good thing, because I think Joe Biden would be a much easier candidate for any Republican to beat.
Oh my God, Joe Biden! That would be the perfect gaffe-a-day presidential candidate. Period.
It would be fun, wouldn't it, Ken?
Oh, it would be great. It's perfect comedy. I mean, it is worth watching. I am so rooting for Joe Biden to run for the presidency of the United States of America. And everyone at 7-Eleven is too. I love it.
Okay. Hey, Ken, we are up against a break. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, iHeartRadio, and AMFM247.com. Today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment and protected by the Second. Don't go away. Ken will be right back. Ken and I will be right back. We got a great lineup of guests.
They say I'm messy, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding. to become the Conservative Commando Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader. Yours truly, that is. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., you can log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. You can also hear our show at any time of the day from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. And Ken, why don't you let our listeners know who we will be interviewing today?
Well, we got a timely show on so many ways and manners. At 3:35, Dr. William Balgord, who happens to be president of Environmental and Resources Technology Incorporated in Middleton, Wisconsin, and a contributing columnist with Cornwall Alliance, will be joining us to talk about the EPA big mess out west, the Adams River catastrophe, for most of us who know it across the country. At 4:05, Helen Rowley, a woman from China who became a citizen of the United States of America, is the author of Confucius Never Said and Invest Like a Zen Master and Live Happily Ever After, will be joining us to talk about what's happening even as we speak with the market down 350 points, and that's just today. And so we'll be getting great details on what next steps should be taken. And then finally, at 4:35, our big guest for today, Wayne Allen Root. He will be talking with us about Trump being relentless and his new book, Relentless. So this is a very big day.
All right. Sounds like we got a great show lined up. Thank you, Kenneth McClinton. And Ken, what else is on your radar screen?
Well, it's difficult to hide $1.8 million. I don't care where you do it or how hard you try to do it. And we try to be very fair at the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We share across the board criticism when unethical and immoral happen. But apparently, in the great state of Oklahoma, Senator Rick Brinkley, State Senator Rick Brinkley, 54, admitted wrongdoing on 6 charges, 5 counts with wire fraud and 1 count subscribing to a false tax return, in which he stole $1.8 million from the nonprofit agency where he worked and filed a false tax return. He negotiated a plea agreement with the federal government and is due back in court for sentencing November 20th, when he could get up to 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine for the wire fraud, and up to 3 years in prison and a $250,000 fine for the false tax return, federal prosecutors said. Now, he is a Republican, so we see it on both sides, where people who have access and power sometimes are so corrupt that it overflows into their personal as well as professional lives.
Well, that's a lot of money. $1.8 million from a nonprofit. What can you tell us about the nonprofit? Anything?
Well, the nonprofit happens to be, in fact, is it Better Business Bureau in Tulsa, where Brinkley had been the president and CEO from 1999 to 2011.
The Better Business
Bureau.
Bureau.
Operating officer from June 1, 2011 until he was fired in April. So the Better Business Bureau is the spot in which he was able to acquiesce $1.8 million. So I'm quite certain that there were a few complaints from the nonprofit agency in terms of Better Business.
Well, I chuckle because the Better Business itself, the Better Business Bureau itself, I think is a scam. You know, you want a good rating of the Better Business Bureau. What you need to do is you need to pay them. That's how you get a good rating with the Better Business Bureau.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, nonetheless, it is a nonprofit. Big scam that it is. Sometimes like Red Cross.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is the thief has been caught, and he just might be one of a few more in the pile. There's one other thing that's on my agenda for today, and apparently, we're very and prominent in terms of broadcasting because people know us around the world, but we never leave the decibels so high that it could start a war. Well, apparently, the South Koreans, in protest of the North Koreans, began blasting propaganda through variant high decibel level military front across the points of from North Korea. Unfortunately, the North Koreans, Son Young-il, whatever, is very upset, and quite frankly, are attempting to wage war right now. They state that if the South Koreans do not turn off those radio stations, then quite frankly, they will blow them away. So apparently, they understand exactly how to really get at the heart of the North Koreans, and that's to play very loud propaganda music and information across the border. I think we should do that for every liberal. What do you think?
Well, I think we're doing that as we speak there, Ken. I think we're doing it as we can. Well, that would be a new way or a new reason to start a war, I guess. Hey, Ken, I wanted to get your opinion about the Ashley Madison stir-up. Leaks include 22 D.C. government employees. I know you're down there in Washington, D.C. Do you know any of these 22 people that are in the government of Washington, D.C. that had accounts with Ashley Madison? And for our listeners who are not aware of what Ashley Madison is, it's like a Match.com for people who want to have affairs. It's a website. It's a dating website. People who are married who want to hook up with other people, or they get these accounts, and apparently there's 22 people from the Washington, D.C. government or government employees from Washington, D.C. who have accounts there with Ashley Madison. Ken, did you know any of these people?
I know them, unfortunately, and these are the superstars of efficiency and the bureaucracy. Apparently, during the course of 8 hours of the day's work, and especially trying to find the killers of my daughter, Shanice Milton, they had time to actually go online to Ashley Madison and try to break up their own happy home. And that's good to know. It's good to know that they are able to balance work life with the afterlife and play life and enjoy themselves and accordingly. They're tied with Montgomery County, Maryland employees at 22. The Department of Veteran Affairs actually had 104. But listen, the U.S. Army is not a slacker. Apparently, under mill.com, USArmymill.com, there were 6,788 accounts, followed by Navy at 1,665, and the Marine Corps 809. So apparently, government employees have nothing better to do with their life.
Apparently not. Apparently not. But, Ken, we do, so we are going to take a break. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader. We're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly. Around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, iHeartRadio, and AMFM247.com and K98Talk.com. Check out our website, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Don't go away. Ken and I will be back with our first guest.
That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses. Home health care, or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
If you would like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Or, mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show at any time, any day, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. When he is not in the great state of Wisconsin facing down environmentalists for his organization, Environmental and Resources Technology. He spends his time as a contributing columnist and advocate for All Alliance. He is a geochemist and consultant on environmental affairs. We want to introduce to some, present to others, the great Dr. William Balgord. Good afternoon, sir. Great pleasure to have you with us today.
Well, it's my pleasure to be with you. I don't know about great, but let's take it away. Okay.
Well, you certainly are, and you are blasting a great clarion call to Americans, and thank goodness for Hillary Clinton, who's taking the oxygen out of the atmosphere for news stories. But one of the most debilitating environmental catastrophes in human history is happening, and we're not getting any attention paid to it. Can you tell us all about it, sir?
Well, I'm all about it, but about 10 days to 2 weeks ago, the EPA and their consultants decided they were going to do what they needed to do to clean up an old mine. And the setting, a lot of your listeners probably saw some of this on the TV, but out in southwest Colorado, near a little place called Silverton, there was a mine out there. It's been closed since, as I understand, since about the 1920s. But when it rains, the snow melts, and so on, a little bit of the stuff was leaking out. And this somehow got EPA's attention, and they decided, well, we're EPA and we have to do something about it. They never seem to be content Because just let, as I say in the little article I wrote, if you just let sleeping dogs lie, we wouldn't be having this conversation here right now. So, but at any rate, they and their contractors out there breached there was a little dam or an earthen dike holding back this sludge and stuff inside the mine. Well, their backhoe, if I read correctly, cut a little ditch in the thing, and the next thing you know, out pours 3 million gallons of this yellow-colored sludge. And I say, many of your readers probably saw this on the TV, and it was getting a lot of attention for a few days. It's kind of faded into the background right now. So that's so if you got some questions or other things, then fire away.
Exactly. Well, listen, 3 million gallons of yellow slush. We're not talking about the orange stuff that comes out of the 7-Eleven machine slushies. We're talking about some major, dangerous chemicals. Can you tell us what some of those chemicals are?
This is left over from the gold mining days. It's called the Gold King Mine is one of a number of them that are out there, but they've been closed a long time and more or less just sitting there, not minding their own business and not doing any substantial amount of harm. But what came out in that torrent of yellow discolored sludge water are a lot of things, and probably a little bit of gold, but the more concerned were things like arsenic, lead, cadmium. It's a long list of things that are toxic. And when that water hits the stream, there's a little Animas River that was also minding its own business. Anything that got in the way down there was, for quite a number of miles, was going to be killed. The sludge itself is acidic. It's a little complicated chemically to explain it all, so I won't burden your listeners with all of that. But just take it from me that the stuff would not be fit to drink. And I read subsequently that it would take a dilution of something like probably 1 to 4,000 or 1 to 5,000 before it would begin to be close to drinking water standards. Because things like arsenic, for example, you really don't want very much in the water that you're drinking. You don't want it for the water you're letting cattle drink from, for irrigation, for any purposes like that. And downstream, right close by, there's a little village of Silverton, and then down another 50 miles or so is Durango. That's a more familiar name in southwest Colorado. And from there on down well into New Mexico, they shut down. They had to turn off their water intakes for their water supplies, and they put bans on irrigating all of that. So right now the thing is beginning to clear up because the major portion of the sludge came out, I guess, in a matter of hours or certainly maybe a half a day, and it's receded. But I think the point is that the EPA is say there what one geologist looking at the thing was saying is that EPA was trying to find a way to have that mine right there by Silverton declared a Superfund site. And then once they did that, once they did that, see, they could probably go in and apply for something like $100 million to clean it up, to build a water treatment plant, and those things are really expensive. They've done it one or two other places in the state. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, you have a question.
Yeah, because and I think one of the things to think about, Dr. Balgert, is just a few years ago, British Petroleum was facing, virtual 24/7 coverage of the oil leak. And I'm not saying that the oil leak wasn't, a dangerous thing, but some of it broke down in the water, and they're just natural things that take place where the oil isn't as dangerous as having a slush of arsenic, mercury, and other laces coming down the river and killing fish, and possibly putting the lives of Americans at risk.
Well, yes.
Right. Go right ahead.
Anyway, but yes, the sludge came down. Now, it's headed down from, again, maybe too much detail here, from that little Animas River into the San Juan River, which they connect down in New Mexico, northern New Mexico, and then the San Juan takes it to the Colorado. Well, the Colorado, where it goes in there, is part of a very large water supply. It's Lake Powell. and then it continues on down, and eventually it will join in for the water supply for a reservoir that's supplying part of Los Angeles' water. Now, at each stage, it gets more dilute, so the critical toxicity or the poisonous character of it is reduced. But again, over a long period of time, this stuff will have or can have cumulative effects. The sludge, not all of it will get down that far. Some of it, as the water flow slows down, will wind up in the silt. It will form mud bars and so on in the stream. But then there they are, and then the next time, if they get which they do every few years, they get maybe a very heavy rain, and when that happens, you get a surge of water down. Guess what? It sweeps this toxic silt back up off the bottom and takes it on down farther. So you could have a repeat. It wouldn't be any of those would not be quite as high concentrations of the toxics, but yet they might have to be responded by shutting down water supplies and so on again. So it's not a small thing. It's really not a small thing. And the EPA head, this Gina McCarthy, went last week. She didn't come up. She decided not to come up to Silverton to see the site of the thing, but she apparently stopped off down in Durango and for maybe a few minutes answered a few questions down there and then got back on her plane and left. But that's all they gave it. I mean, George Bush was mightily criticized for his lack of attention for his first few days in New Orleans, remember, with Katrina.
Exactly.
And the Obama administration, I think, is just as derelict here for not doing what, at least getting somebody in there to try to get some questions answered. But
if only he was the president of BP, boy, would we see something totally different.
Oh yeah.
Listen, we're talking with Dr. Bogert today about the Animas River toxic situation. And listen, we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with CPR, Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Networks, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. They are all.com. Now you can listen to our show at any time on our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. We'll be back with more global warming, the hottest July, and Dr. Bogert.
They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network up. The Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
If you would like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. For mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show at any time, any day, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. We are with Dr. William Balgord, who is a geochemist, as well as environmental consultant and president of his own environmental company. And we've been talking about the Animas River catastrophe. And I just wanted you to finish your comments from last, as I was making a ironic comparison of Barack Obama as president of BP. Why should we be uniquely concerned, and how should we follow this story?
You know, I guess it depends on if it's a large corporation that has an accident, if it's the government. But I wanted to put this, and something I picked up just today was this was not the first time this happened to EPA. They also had a few months back, a similar breach or spill at a closed cotton mill or cotton processing plant in Georgia. And there were toxics, there was arsenic and a number of other poisonous materials in that. So, they're going to go out and say, well, this is a terrible accident, we'll never let it happen again, and well, I hope they don't. But this is the second one. So, yeah, and this seemed to escape the mainstream news outlets, when this first broke a week to 2 weeks ago. I just thought I would throw that one out. Okay.
Exactly. I'm glad you did. Rick Trader has a question for you regarding the environmental EPA helper that they are.
Yeah, Doctor, you and Ken were talking about the PB disaster briefly. We also have to remind our audience, and I think it's very important to remind our audience, that it took Barack Obama and his administration 9 days to respond to that spill. So when you talk about this mess in Georgia, when you talk about this mess in Colorado, it seems like this administration, who touts itself as being a friend of the environment, maybe isn't so much a friend of the environment.
Well, I think that's a very good point, and I will pick up on something that Ken had said a little earlier about what came out of it. I mean, I don't even remember the number. There was a very large amount of crude oil came up associated with that BP spill, but a year, 2-3 years afterward, it's gotten very hard to find any, and that raises a question: is what happened to it? And one explanation is that there are bacteria that feed on hydrocarbons, and it may well be that's what happened to the bulk of it. That it got down on the bottom, or it went wherever it did. And there were bacteria there that developed, that cultured or colonized it, and then ate it up. Similar things happened at Valdez after that, and that goes back quite a number of years when the tanker ruptured up there. That I understand. I was just talking with a guy that worked on that project, an engineer, and he said that the beaches where they cleaned up, there's still some problem with them. But he said the beaches that they didn't get to, that natural processes and presumably bacteria and so on cleaned it up.
That's very interesting.
And also what we know, geochemists or geologists will tell you, is that there are seeps. There are natural call them spilled, but they're more like seeps on the bottom of the ocean in various places. There's a substantial amount off the coast of California, and that oil is coming out of there. It's not controlled, but the oil doesn't build up from it. I guess occasionally there's an excess of it. Some of it will wash up on the beach, but it doesn't stay. Nature takes care of the problems.
Well, Doctor, let me ask you this, since you say nature takes care of its problems. Will nature take care of its problem when you're dealing with mercury, arsenic, and lead from this mine disaster?
Well, not in quite the sense that we would like it. I think that if these mines were just basically left to themselves, that the amount of effluent, that what was coming out would be relatively minor. But when they go in and trying to, to fix a problem that they imagine is there, then we wind up with what happened the other day. The geologist said that what had happened was that they blocked off some other entrances to prevent water out, and so the water just built up. It just rose and rose in there. And he had predicted more than a week ago, more than a week before the disaster happened, that this was going to happen. He attended. There were hearings that they apparently the Silverton and the EPA. This stuff goes back over a year where they were discussing it. And in a sense was EPA didn't want to come out and say so, but the sense was that they were trying to find justification for this a Superfund site. And if this could have been dealt with in a more low key basis, or maybe just left alone, that the problems wouldn't have gotten to this point. That's I think the point. And another thing that gets missed in the media is that these are natural. That they can be harmful if they're in the wrong place. But lead and arsenic and these things are natural, and they're in the ground. They're in these areas that have been mined in the form of naturally occurring minerals. So and there's undoubtedly, in my mind at least, many hundreds of times more of that stuff that's in the ground down there that they're never going to be able to do anything about. It's buried, it's at depth and so on. So why not leave some of this alone? Occasionally you may have some of it escape, but it's manageable. And up until the time of this spill that EPA created, they've never had to shut down the water supplies in Durango. Mm-hmm. They have not. I mean, there's supposedly some reports, I guess, of hurting some fish a few times very close by, in the creek. Because there's coming out of the mine, it runs right down to there's a creek. It runs for, I guess, a mile and a half or 2 miles down to the river. But there are trout out there, and still fishermen have. I mean, it's a popular tourist area. Mm-hmm. And the concern of some of the businesses in Silverton is that if it's declared a Superfund fight, they might as well shut down. Mm-hmm. It will kill off their tourism.
Yeah.
To have that, I mean, how many tourists want to go see Love Canal? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Doctor, I got to ask you, there has been a lot of talk about, we need to find the EPA, and I said that's ridiculous because that's just fining the taxpayer.
Yeah, we're the ones that will have to.
Yeah, but I do think that heads should roll over this.
Oh yeah,
and I think one way to punish the EPA is to slash its budget.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Exactly, is come in, compel, say, look, what we want you to do is go back and figure out what's really important to help people and protect the environment, and all this other stuff. Let's just forget about it, or we'll look at it again in 10 or 20 years. I mean, I would even be, and I've said this to people, and not publicly, but I've said it more than once, that it may be time to sunset the acts, the environmental and so on that authorize the EPA. And what we ought to do, and our current Governor Walker, put a plug in for him, has said what he favors is doing block grants and giving the money back to the states. Let the states do these things.
Hey, Doctor, I wanted to ask you another question, Ken, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm on the website with your article now. I wanted to ask you about these 96 million plastic balls that were dumped into a reservoir in Los Angeles. What's your thoughts on that, Doctor?
Well, that one I think I saw in passing, but I didn't look at it closely enough to have an informed opinion.
Okay.
So I guess I'll have to punt that one. All right.
It seems to me
96 million balls.
You know,
I tell you, balls.
I've seen video of them dumping these 96 million balls into this reservoir,
Yeah,
and they're.
I guess maybe they're going to sample, or maybe they thought that would.
I don't know, but first of all, they're black.
Yeah.
And I think that black absorbs the heat.
Oh yeah. That was. I guess, that was to I guess to ward off the warming or something, wasn't it?
I don't know, but black to me, black absorbs heat.
Yes, it does.
So if these 96 million balls are floating on top of the reservoir, baking in the sun, heating up, to me that would evaporate even more water.
Yeah, well, if the heat got from the exterior part where it's black, but maybe the thought was, I mean, I'll try to pick up and argue on their case a little bit here. It may be that being black, it would radiate back toward space, so basically...
I would think silver, if there's silver or white, it would radiate more back towards space.
It's the sunlight that reaches the surface. Now, you're getting into a whole different area here, but anything that causes more cloud formation and so on, especially during the daytime, winds up with reflecting the visible and the portion of the sunlight back to space. So the climatologist even will tell you that if the sunlight doesn't reach the surface, that there is not much warming. But if you've got clouds at 5,000 or 10,000 feet, they act as reflectors, and that sunlight goes back to space where it doesn't warm things. But this is maybe for another time. If you if I write something that you think is interesting enough, I'd be glad to come back on again. We'll talk about that.
I would love to talk with you about that. There's just one other thing.
Sure.
Don't you feel any regret for signing that form for Cornwall while July is the hottest in the history of all recorded Julys? Don't you understand that we're dying from global warming, sir?
Yeah, well, that is some of that is, in my opinion, is made up. We've got NOAA, we've got NASA, and so on that are in charge of our temperature record, and they get their hands into something and won't let other people see exactly what they're doing. So they take raw data that comes from a lot of different measuring sites, and then they, in a sense, correct it. And just by coincidence, they have been correct. Here's what's happened: is the old data from back.
Dr. Bogart, we're going to have to go, but we do want you to come back. We want to talk about global warming, man-made global warming, and how those are taking advantage of that. It's just great having you on the air with us. And you're with Cornwall Alliance, and individuals can go to Cornwall Alliance to read your great article on the EPA makes a big mess.
It's also Washington Examiner and the Detroit News.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being with us, Doctor.
It's been my pleasure.
Listen, if you would like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. On mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show at any time, any day, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. We'll be back while the rest of Wall Street is licking its wounds from today. Helen Rowley will guide us through the 350-port loss thanks to China.
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night at Concord Bridge in Trenton. For freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to the leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show at any time, any day, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is a very brilliant analyst and strategist, and has been in the field of finance and leadership for all of her life, virtually. She's written the two great Jews Never Said and Invest Like a Zen Master, Live Happily Ever After. She's a silver winner 2015 of IBPA's Benjamin Franklin Award. Without further ado, we want to introduce to some and present to others the beautiful and brilliant Helen Riley.
Thank you, Ken. How are you?
Very well indeed. There are people who are jumping off of buildings on Wall Street today as they're watching this past week the complete collapse of the unadulterated, artificially pumped Wall Street stock market. I want to ask you, were you aware that this was going to happen, and what signals people should have been watching for to know that it was going to happen?
Well, I have to admit, I do not have the foresight to know this is going to happen in this dramatic fashion. I think for most people who invest in Wall Street, ever since last week when China had a very sudden currency move, we kind of sensed something was going to happen, but we didn't know it's going to happen so fast in such a big magnitude, like what we see the last 2 days, especially today.
Wow. I mean, today has been it's different when it's like at certain points of the day, like 11 o'clock or maybe 2 in the afternoon, where you see the sell-off. But this has been a persistent all-day sell-off. And many people are concerned that we are actually looking at the beginning of the same thing that happened that brought us Barack Obama.
Well, that concern is definitely has some valid points there. Well, there's no market will always go straight up, right? Investing is like watching the pendulum swing. They will go one way or another. Generally speaking, the higher they go up, the harder they fall. So, and we have been in a bull market for the last 6 years, so we haven't seen a serious correction. We define correction as if the market dropped more than 10%. We haven't seen a serious correction for 6 years. So it's probably about time, and it's healthy. And in a free market, it's not anything to be panicked about when the market has the mechanism to correct itself, when something gets overheated. I think it's a healthy move. At least in our market, this is a market trying to self-correcting, not like in China when the government tried to pump up everybody to do margin, borrow to buy stock on margin, and then try to pump up the stock market by very administrative move. So I still have faith in our market here.
Oh, yeah, most certainly. And even if we saw a 20% correction, which would be a normal correction in any bull period, you're only talking about maybe about 3,400-point drop, somewhere around back to about 14,000 overall, which is still much higher than what it was when Barack Obama became president of the United States. It virtually would be a double of that. But there are concerns that this is a watershed moment because apparently the gimmicks that have been played by central banks and as well the artificial reduction or holding of interest rates to a very low standard looks like it's not working anymore.
Right. That is a big concern. I think the recent market action as we get closer to September, which many market experts put about basically bet there's a 60% possibility that the Federal Reserve will start raising interest rate in September. And as we're getting closer to September, market tend to play temper tantrum because market like low interest environment. And when there is any hint that's going to change, then they tend to throw some temper tantrum because interest rates will increase the cost of investing and borrowing. But on the other hand, as we all know, it's unhealthy for us to be in this artificially low interest environment because if somehow this what happened yesterday and today, if somehow this market drop turned into the beginning of a bear market, and then we're already at a zero interest rate, the Federal Reserve will have no ammunition to do anything, right?
Yeah.
So it is unhealthy, and they have to make, like I said, from 0 to 0.25 is not a big deal, and the market for some reason, it's about time to get off that.
That is wonderful. We're talking with Helen Rowley, one of the most brilliant leaders in the country when it comes to not only finance, but generally in terms of political writing. And one of the problems with our scenario here, because we got to get ready to go to a break in just a few, but I want to get your point on this. There are those who have married the stock market to the economy, and they're really two different machines. They may work interchangeably, but generally the stock market is someone's belief of what's going to happen 12 months down the road. The economy is an ever-present machine. It doesn't look like we are growing so fast that interest rates should increase because they would have done it by now. They should have done it in March. And it doesn't look like we're growing so fast that it can sustain the fervor of this particular marketplace. When it comes to the media, doesn't that kind of propagandize a very bad economy and a very bad jobs market? And just this, they'll begin to say things that will make the stock market go down versus allowing it to naturally happen.
Right. Well, I agree with what you said. What's happening in our economy is not necessarily 100% reflective in the stock market. Because if you look at the Obama presidency, the stock market actually has been doing very well. Again, the market was doing very well because we're in this 0% interest, sugar high environment. It's good for speculative investment. But the underlying economy has been very weak, and we have probably the weakest recovery. Consider how bad we felt our economy crashed in 2008. We should have a much spectacular recovery in the 6-7 years by now, but we did not have that. Yes, our unemployment rate has been going down, but that reflects more people are not looking for a job, especially if they're at their primary age, or more people are underemployment. You see more this so-called share economy. It's basically many people are doing shared, no option. They are not getting paid to do a full-time job they have the talent to do. So they're doing, Ubers, they, doing part-time jobs. But if you just look at the official unemployment rate, that looks great. But investors know better. So there is a disconnection between what's actually happening in the economy versus what's happening in the stock market. But for most journalists, they tend to view those two things as the same thing. They use one, refer to the other, and sometimes they tend to, get the general public become panic because they didn't understand the fundamental difference. And the market can be influenced by many elements, like you mentioned, about the people's behavior, sentiment, emotion, and expectation. Market tend to price in what they think is going to happen in the future. So it's not exactly 100%, one-to-one translation between stock market versus the economy.
Helen Rowley is with us. We will be back. We will talk about China and its drag on our market real time with its artificial numbers. And also, what makes Donald Trump so sexy to those who hate the term anchor babies. Helen Rowley's with us, and we thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us. Listen, we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM, FM 24/7. They are all.com. Now you can listen to our show at any time on our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. We'll be back right after this.
They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commando Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Oh, that man would make a great Secretary of Defense. Listen, if you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show at any time, any day, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. We are with the great Helen Rowley, who is the author of Invest Like a Zen Master and Live Happily Ever After. Today has been a grueling day for those who walked onto the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. We've watched the stock market fall down below 350 points today. Just a general correction overall, but some of the trailing or identifying evidence of a drag is coming from China. And Helen, I wanted to ask you in terms of that, is it the drag because the China economy is so powerful today, or is it simply because the numbers that they've been reporting might be erroneous based on exuberance?
Well, it's both, Ken, because China's economy is the second largest economy in the world. So when China is sneezed, everybody else will feel the cold, will catch the cold. And China has been significantly slowed down since late last year. That is part of the reason why Chinese government tried very hard to pump up the stock market. And then what happened in the crash in the China's stock market in this summer, then followed by the very unexpected sudden currency devaluation, really threw the cold water to a already very weak global recovery. Because think about this, before what's happening in China this summer, the world was involved in a possible Greece exit to the Eurozone, even though Greece represents a small economy. But it just this constant uncertainty about what's going to happen with the global economic recovery, with such a powerful economy like China, basically telling the world that it's not going to continue to grow 10% anymore. Its actual growth rate is much lower than what's its official rate. It's reported. So yes, people have a lot of uncertainty. Investors have a lot of uncertainty about where China is going, and especially there's a lot of concern about, whether Chinese government can successfully steer the ship to more market-based, reform. Like this morning, the IMF announced that they're going to delay to include China into the special drawing right as a reserve currency. So all these things put together, all the elements you add up together, it's worth asking the question, will this help China to speed up its market-based economic reform, or will actually push them back to more administrative central planning because they're unsure how to control the market economy?
Tremendous question. One that we're going to be watching over the next few weeks, because it's very true that when China sneezes, the rest of the world's catching a cold. There's a question from out of Facebook, and I want to give this question to you.
Sure.
Pamela Green Keaton has written, y'all, Southern drawl, forgive it. Please pay close attention to your investments, the 401ks and such. I've lost over $2,000 in the last couple of weeks just by not paying attention. Maybe not a lot of most of y'all, but it's significant enough for my little feathers to get ruffled, especially when the still small voice was telling me to move some things around. So this is beginning to happen in the market. Others started in March seeing the fall and prices going below where they were in 2014. But now it's starting to catch up on the 401k reports that are going to people. And how should people react and justifiably to what's happening in the marketplace?
Well, I do not think people should react to on a daily basis to market events. And especially people have to realize this, that first of all, I would advise people do not go check their 401k account today, because if you do, you might get a heart attack or, think you work until you're 100. But think about it. Then put this in perspective. Whatever, if they do go check their 401k today, which I strongly advise against, but if you do check their 401k today, what they see are paper loss. Okay?
Yeah.
If they're going to react now or by Monday do some fanatic selling, then actually going to turn that paper loss into actual loss. Right? So I strongly advise that. Instead of check their 401k today, I would advise them to go to Amazon.com and order how to invest like a Zen Master. This is very timely.
There you go.
They need now. They need to breathe. They need to breathe and put their mind somewhere else. But in all seriousness, they should either have this conversation with their advisor, or if they do them on their own, it all depends on how far they are away from retirement. Mm-hmm. If they are getting closer, if they are getting within 5 years within their retirement, they should not invest a lot of their money into stock market to begin with. And if they still have 10 years or 20 years away from retirement, then seriously, this is the time to ignore the market noise this is not the time to make any move to pay attention to. And I would recommend your listeners and just, general public that you normally, either you make an annual or every 6 months, look at your portfolio and make adjustment based on what's going to happen. Are you getting older? Is something significant change in your life? Are you getting closer to retirement? Make an adjustment that way, but do not react to daily or occasional market events, because when you do, that is why most investors, ordinary investors, they never make the kind of return which mutual funds advertise the mutual funds did. Why? Because they always sell low and buy high. So if you do not have that kind of financial savviness, choose a very balanced investment portfolio or talk to your honest advisor who help you set a balanced investment portfolio. You should have stocks, you should have bonds. How much you should have is really based on how old you are, what you invest this money for, and what's your risk tolerance. Basically means how much money you lose, on paper, you lose sleep at night. You need to
exactly. I like the way you said it. Virtually diversify and breathe. Relax.
Yes.
These things are going to happen. Helen, I wish I had time to ask you the question regarding Donald Trump and the anchor babies, but I'm going to have to wait for that to happen. How can people get your book, How to Invest Like a Zen Master?
Well, they can order it on Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. And where can they go for your website?
My website is HelenRowleySpeaks.com. They can also follow me on Twitter, HRowleySpeaks.
Awesome. I'm going to recommend to everybody that you take a moment out of your busy schedule, go to HelenRowleySpeaks.com, and when you're having bad days like this, and even when you're having good days, just send a little note and ask her advice or get the book. I'm quite certain that you will have a few better weekends of wine tasting and cheese eating rather than worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow in China. So thank you so much, Helen. It's great having you on our program, and we look forward to your return.
Thank you, Ken. It's always an honor to be on your program. Thank you for having me. Have a good weekend.
It's great having you. Listen, we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. They are all.com. Now you can listen to our show at any time on our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Is Donald Trump relentless? We'll find out in a few minutes when the author of Relentless joins us right after this.
He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom with the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
If you'd like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. On mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show at any time, any day, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. After a long, hard day of watching the Dow fall 531 points, men and women around the country need someone with dynamism and hope. That basically expresses to Wayne Allen, former Libertarian vice presidential nominee and now author of The Power of Relentless. You can feel Wayne's energy and intensity in every page, and you'll feel it in the next 20 minutes as well. Without further ado, Mr. Wayne Allen Root, good day, sir. Great pleasure to have you on the air with us.
Gentlemen, Rick, Ken, how are you? I'm here, and I am relentless.
Now, relentless. On a day where the Dow falls 531 points and Hillary Clinton is wondering what she's going to do with the next 600 years of her life. Why is this book so valiant and so important for this particular time period?
Well, I'll tell you what. I think my gut instincts and predictions are pretty damn good. If you follow me, for the last 6 months, and you read this book, I think you'll come up with all the following conclusions. Number one, I've said for 6 months, the next president of the United States will never be Hillary Clinton. She's so corrupt, she's so scandal-plagued that when people put the spotlight on her, and we get serious about this, and we realize she's one big Hindenburg ready to explode, I called her the Hillaryburg. It's over for her, and she's done. Stick a fork in her, Hillary's gone. So there's prediction number one. That was a good one. Prediction number two, I've said for 5 months now, before he ever declared he was running, that Donald Trump's going to get in, and if he runs, he's going to be the next president of the United States. And I stuck with it despite all the things he said that made everybody scream in the media, oh, my God, it's over. He's done. His campaign is over. John McCain comments, the Hispanic border comments, the Rosie O'Donnell comments, the Megyn Kelly comments. I kept saying, nobody cares. He's a dynamo. Mm-hmm. He is relentless. He's the power of relentless. He's the name of my book. He's going to steamroll to the nomination. And so far, I look pretty good with that one. And the third one, if you open my book, there's an entire section of the book that says the country, the economy, and the world is headed for economic disaster and calamity. And you've got to own gold, and you've got to own rare-colored diamonds, because the stock market is going to collapse and crash. And the last 2 days, I'm looking pretty good with that one, too. Gold is up. Yeah. Substantially. The market down 530, 300 yesterday, so the market's down almost 1,000 points in 2 days, and gold was up both days. When times are bad and there's crisis and there's massive debt in the world, you've got to own gold and diamonds. Those are the two things that do well against crisis in general, but specifically debt crisis. And I got an entire chapter in the book explaining why those things go up when all the other financial instruments like real estate and stocks, more traditional instruments, go down. So you've got to protect yourself. So I feel pretty good about things.
Yeah, listen, 100% job in terms of a prognostication. But people, and I listened to you at Freedom Fest, and I just thought you put on just a complete package of why Relentless was so important, not only just personally but also publicly. You overcome very much in your life, and you write about overcoming in various books. But Relentless shows just the pure power of a capitalist mind, of a convicted heart towards people overcoming what they've been listening to for the past 6 years. But that's my personal testimony of it. What is your testimony of it?
And thank you very much. It's really nice to hear that, and it's really nice to know that someone was in the audience that felt that way. So, that's what gives me passion. That's what gives me evangelical zeal. That's what gives me enthusiasm, and that's what makes me relentless, is when people say things like you just said to me. So I really appreciate it. Listen, I've lived a fairy tale life. I don't have any of Donald Trump's talent, and I'm not a billionaire. And, of course, I also wasn't born a billionaire. Donald Trump's worth $10 billion, but he was born, his father was worth about $1 billion the day he was born. I was born an SOB, a son of a butcher, with nothing. The only thing my father left me was a nice piece of bologna. Other than that, nothing, man. So I started in a very different place, and yet in this great country, with a lot of relentlessness and a lot of moxie and a lot of audacity and a lot of chutzpah, relentless chutzpah, and always being on offense, just like Donald Trump, always take the offense. Never play defense. The best defense is a good offense. Keep the other guy on defense. And I've done that my whole life. I've been in action and in motion my whole life. Never stop, never slow down. I'm always in motion, and I'm a self-made millionaire, and I've made miracles happen. I've managed to become the number one anchorman at CNBC and host 5 shows there, even though in my whole life I'd never been on TV before. I managed to graduate valedictorian in my high school and get into Columbia University, even though my dad was a butcher and had no money to pay the bill, and all the other kids were rich, and there were 30,000 people applying for 1,000 openings, and I got it. And I managed to, write 10 books, and 3 of them are national bestsellers. I just found out yesterday this new book, The Power of Relentless, it's been out for 1 week, and I got the call from the publisher yesterday, number 6 out of every conservative book in the United States of America last week. Yeah.
Wow.
And by the way, here's the best part. It's not It shouldn't even be on the conservative bestseller list because it's not a conservative book. I'm a conservative, so they put it on the list because all my books have been political, and I'm political, and I'm touting this book on conservative talk radio, so I guess they lumped me in. But the joke is the book has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with winning at life. It's a self-help book to show you how to win at life. But it also shows the GOP the way forward to win, just as a politician or as a political entity. To win, you got to be more like Barack Obama. Do you believe I just said that? I can't even believe I just said that. Really? Yeah, well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay, I am like this polar opposite in life. It's almost like God said, let's put two people in the world who are exactly opposite, Wayne Root and Barack Obama. Everything he believes in, he wants more government, I want less government. He wants more government spending, I want far less government spending. He wants higher taxes, I want less taxes. He wants more regulations, I want no regulations. He wants kids to be in public school, I want homeschooling and school choice. There's nothing we agree on. In 7 years, the only thing Obama ever said I agree on is he said we should have a national college football playoff. I agreed with that. That's it. That's the only thing. But we agree on the mindset it takes to get there and make your goals happen. Barack Obama, I wish Republicans would copy his mindset. It was one of my heroes, Steve Jobs, who once said, good artists copy, great artists steal. Watch Obama and steal his mindset, because here's a guy that lost in a massive historic landslide and repudiation last November, and yet he's gotten everything he ever wanted since that day through executive order or embarrassing Congress or going around Congress or even with the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, convincing the Republicans to be on his side for, I think, one of the worst pieces of legislation in history. And here's a party that won in a landslide, my party, the Republican Party, who makes every excuse in the book why we fail every day and why we can't stop a man who just lost in a landslide. It makes no sense. So everything in life comes down to relentless. It's the same reason some people succeed in business despite having no talent, like me, and some people don't succeed in business and they have all the talent in the world. It's the same reason some athletes are just blessed by God with the greatest body you've ever seen and the most speed and the most everything, and they never pan out and they never make it. And other guys like, Rudy from the Notre Dame movie, Rudy Rudiger, who happens to be one of my good friends and a neighbor of mine here in Las Vegas. He lives right down the block from me, and Rudy and I hang out together. Rudy and I are two guys who are like, 5'7", standing high, with high heels on, and yet we always were captains of our teams, finish first in everything we do, and we have great competitive spirit, and people think of us as leaders. We were given nothing by God athletically, and I'm the captain of every team I'm ever on. How do you figure that? Some people have it and some people don't. It's called relentless.
Relentless with Wayne Allen Root. Listen, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we want to find out what are the characteristics in Donald Trump that identify him as the potential 45th president of the United States of America. If you would like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to the leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show at any time, any day, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. We will be back with Wayne Allen Root right after this.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is we must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, PA, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. They are all.com. Now you can listen to our show at any time on our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. We have with us the number 6 book author in the country right now, none other than Wayne Allen Root. His book, The Power of Relentless. Want to ask you, Wayne, the words that Donald speaks, the way he behaves seems very boorish and not PC. He's not nice. Why can't he just be? And wouldn't that make him a better leader?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think being nice has anything to do with being a leader. Matter of fact, I think nice guys finish last. You don't have to be mean. You have to be a terrible human being, but nice guys do finish last. Ask Jeb Bush about that. Right now, Donald Trump's crack on Jeb Bush the other day had to be the greatest crack and the most true crack I've ever heard in my entire life. When he said at a press conference at his town hall meeting, Donald Trump stood up and said, I got 2,000 people here at my town hall meeting, and right down the street is Jeb. He's got 200, and they're all asleep. I thought that was the greatest line of all time. And so true. And Jeb Bush is a nice guy. I don't mean him in a bad way, but he's boring. And the reality is his father, George H.W. Bush, was a nice guy and boring, and he lost. And Bob Dole was a nice guy and boring, and he lost. And Gerald Ford was a nice guy and boring, and he lost. And John McCain was a nice guy and boring, and he lost. And Mitt Romney was a nice guy and boring, and he lost. You see a pattern here? The Republican Party keeps running nice guys and losing. And I've been arguing for years now in all my books. My new book, The Power of Relentless, is more of a self-help book. But my last 2 political books, The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide, national bestseller, Murder of the Middle Class, national bestseller. If you look through those books, you will see me give tons of advice to the Republican Party about strategy. And I kept telling them, and have said some of that in every book I've ever written, all of life comes down to finding someone who's electric, finding someone who is pure energy, finding someone, getting people to stop the dial on TV, selling products on infomercials on TV. Selling any product in the world, and politics is sales, requires incredible energy and intensity and passion. and enthusiasm. And all of that describes Donald Trump. I think it all describes me, which is why I wrote the book, The Power of Relentless. And Donald is doing it right. I mean, but the two things that stand above all else that will help him win the presidency, number one is relentless chutzpah, meaning audacity, right? It's the Yiddish word for audacity. And Donald Trump has it. And, he's got incredible balls and moxie to say the things that he does about Rosie O'Donnell and Megyn Kelly and now Jeb Bush. He is just hilarious, and I think the American people like it, even if it makes you wince sometimes because it's so vicious and he's offending someone. You just can't believe he says it, but you know it's the truth. Everything he says. He reminds me of Howard Stern. Howard Stern's like that too, right? He tells the truth. There's always the truth in his vicious comments on America's Got Talent. He makes you wince because he doesn't stand up for everybody and clap for everybody. Some people he rips to shreds. But every guy he rips to shreds, he's the one telling the truth. And the other three of them that sit there, they want everybody to like them, and they tell them lies. You're really good. No, you're not. You're really not good. You're not great. You're not going to win this thing. He's honest. And I think Donald Trump's a lot like Howard Stern.
You know, the one thing I like about having 17 people running for office, 18 people or 19, however number it is this week, it's the simple fact that you're really looking at capitalism at its best, the free market at its best. And the one who sells the best ice cube to the Eskimo is the winner. And he is selling himself like no man has since Ronald Reagan.
That you just made my point exactly. It's relentless salesmanship, and that's what, in a nutshell, my entire book, The Power of Relentless, is about three things: relentless chutzpah, relentless salesmanship, and in Donald Trump's case, relentless celebrity branding. And I use those words in my book too, but not everyone can be the celebrity that Donald Trump is. I certainly am not a Donald Trump level celebrity, but the reality is you must celebrity brand. Either you are the celebrity, or your energy is so big that you're like a celebrity, or you go out and find a celebrity to represent your product or your company. But the end result is, if you can't make people stop the dial, you've got nothing in America. You know what the three letters of America should be? Not USA anymore. It should be TMZ. We're TMZ Nation. We elect celebrities. We elect the American Idol. And I'm sick of Democrats always having the American Idol. Barack Obama was just the American Idol. He never did anything in his life, never accomplished a damn thing in his whole life, except maybe leading a protest march. But what did he ever do? Nothing. But we elected him president because he was, he looked good. He's a handsome guy. When you dress him up right, I think he's a handsome guy. And he looks sharp, and he's got a good way with words. He's a good talker. He's your typical lawyer. I can't stand lawyers. I hate them all because they're all BS artists.
I want to ask you that. Let me chime in here. And I know Rick Trader has a question, but I want to chime in real quick before Rick's question. Isn't this the election or the revolution against lawyers? Isn't this what this election season is about? You cannot be a lawyer and be elected.
I hope so. I pray so, because when you look at who has the lead, or I should say maybe who's doing well in the Republican movement, I wouldn't say I'm anti-lawyer. I don't know if most people realize they're anti-lawyer, because there is one lawyer doing okay. I think the three guys who came out of the debate best position were Donald Trump, citizen politician, non-lawyer, Ben Carson, citizen politician, non-lawyer, right, and a good friend of mine. I love Ben. And by the way, I'm going to write a commentary soon recommending that the ticket for 2016, Donald Trump for president, Ben Carson for vice president.
There you go.
I would love that ticket. But anyway, because by the way, even I admit you can't have two salesmen. It should be a salesman and a guy who's humble and a guy who's intellectual and a guy who's brilliant, Ben Carson. He's the exact opposite of Donald Trump in every way. And if I was Donald Trump, I would announce to the world, listen, I'm not an expert at undoing Obamacare and changing the medical system. What do I know? I'm not a doctor. But I got a guy who is a brain surgeon. He really is a brain surgeon, Ben Carson, right? That's what I would say. I'm going to sign my vice president to do nothing for 24 hours a day for the next 4 years, but to repeal Obamacare and replace it with something great for the American people. Who would know better than Dr. Ben Carson? That's what I would say if I was Trump. But the people who came out of the debate best, Donald Trump, Ben Carson, citizen politicians, and I think Ted Cruz was the third one who came out positioned pretty well. And he is a lawyer. I mean, by profession, he is a lawyer, but he's more like you and me. You know, he's my kind of guy. He certainly doesn't act like a lawyer. So, but you know, he's also another guy, not citizen politician, because he is a politician now, but a rebel and a renegade who is hated by his own party. You know, he's so hated. I heard one senator anonymously said 6 months ago, I hope Ted Cruz hires a food taster because he's going to need one in the Senate cafeteria, right? That's how hated Ted Cruz is. So those three are the darlings of the GOP now, and that just tells you where it's at. On the other side, who's the darling? It isn't Hillary, it's Bernie Sanders, another rabble-rouser, rebel and radical renegade. So I think that, you know, that style is certainly appealing to the American people, the anti-politician. But Bernie, like Ted Cruz, is a politician. He's a U.S. senator. So, and my guess is he's a lawyer. I don't even know. Do you guys know if he's a lawyer? I don't even know.
Bernie Sanders, I don't know. He's a singer. We do know that.
he's a weird mother, is what he is. But I've read some of his columns from long ago. He is a strange guy. Let me tell you.
He is completely strange. How can people sitting on the sidelines, whether they're in Ferguson or in Manhattan, who say that capitalism is dead, it's all over, we might as well try to find a new boat to find a new island that we can call our own? How can people get your book, The Power of Relentless?
Well, I guess there's two questions. How do you get the book? That's an easy one, right? You go to Amazon, which is one of the great examples of capitalism, and Amazon sells it to you very cheap, and they get it to you in a day, and they charge you no shipping. I love these guys. So Amazon is capitalism, man. That's proof it does still work. Or you can go to any bookstore, or you can go to my website and read more about it, root4america.com. And then as far as what do you do or how do you save capitalism, you know, I think all of us need to adopt kind of the style of Donald Trump. I mean, we all need to be relentless and adopt the style of Barack Obama, my nemesis, but who I do respect his style, which is, I don't care what you do to me. I don't care what you try and do to me. In the end, I'm going to get what I want, and he does. And that's, and you know, and that's the art of the deal. Isn't it funny? Obama probably read Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, because that's really the art of the deal. When Donald Trump announced to the world this week that his immigration plan is to deport 15 million people and just, you know, arrest them all and get them out of the country, does anyone really believe on our side that that's really going to happen? I don't believe that.
Well, I'll tell you, Wayne, I'll tell you one way it could happen.
Go ahead.
And we're going to go a little long here, but that's okay. I run the show.
Yeah.
The way it could happen, Wayne, is this. We need a new immigration law, or we need to add one thing and one thing only to the immigration laws that we have now. And that is a $100,000 fine on anybody who gives an illegal or job, or a $100,000 fine for anybody who gives them a place to live, be it sell them a home or be it rent them a home. That way, they will go home on their own. We won't need to deport them. If they have nowhere to live, if they can't get a job, they'll go home on their own.
All right, so let me tell you my response. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think I'm a little bit less of a hardliner maybe than you are, but I'm damn close, okay? I'm pretty darn good on a scale of 1 to 100 by the Heritage Foundation. You know, if they were rating me on, I'd be 100 like Ted Cruz is. I'd be 100 like Marco Rubio has gotten rated by them, and I'd probably be 100. And on immigration, I'd probably be like a 95. Let me tell you where I just pull back just a little bit because I want to still get Hispanic votes, and I think too harsh, you lose the Hispanic votes. I want to be careful here.
We'll never get them, Wayne. We'll never get them anyway.
What I want to say. I want you to respond to what I'm going to say.
Sure.
I don't believe it's possible or affordable to deport 15 million people. I think it's too late. The ship has sailed. I think as a negotiator, Donald Trump is saying, if you ask for a wall, you'll never get a wall. But if you ask for a wall and deportation of 15 million people, the negotiation is you take the wall and you don't get the deportation, and we finally get a wall. So
well, I don't think a wall. See, I'm one of the ones that don't believe a wall does any good. But because you can get over a wall, get under a wall. But to me, the wall would be a large fine on anybody that gives them a job or place to live.
That's fine. I agree with that. 110%. Agree with both statements. A wall is not the only panacea, but it'll help. And by the way, a wall patrolled by drones is impenetrable. Nobody will ever get in. So a wall by itself maybe is no big deal. But a wall combined with drones, with cameras that report back to border agents, so they're there in 1 second the minute you try and get over or under the wall, boom, we got them all. And by the way, the wall does work, because in Israel we were getting attacked. You know, I happen to be Jewish by birth, so I said the word we, but I'm not Israeli, I'm American, but I still think of Israel as a we. I love Israel.
Well, the reason the wall in Israel works, Wayne, and I have been there, I have seen the wall. The reason the wall in Israel works is because it's manned by armed guards with orders to shoot to kill. That's why it works.
Yeah, I love it. And what we should do is man the wall with drones.
Hey, Wayne, do you have a couple of minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Because I wanted to get in this conversation with Wayne, my friend Ken. I really don't know that Donald Trump wants to be president, and I don't know why he wants to be president, because he'd, number one, have to put all his holdings into a trust. His power would be diminished, and he'd have to deal with the media, the Congress, and the Constitution, things he doesn't have to deal with now. He just says, you're fired. So I'm not sure why he wants to be president, or if he really does. I think that maybe one of the things that he got into this for is, Wayne, I believe that Donald Trump is a media whore. He got into this because he was looking for a freak show, and this is the biggest freak show around.
And let me tell you my response. I think you're probably right. I've always argued that Donald Trump got into it thinking that all of life is branding, celebrity branding. Could do no wrong. He'd either win the election by a total freak. He probably never even believed he had a chance. Mm-hmm. But you never know. Lightning strikes, so you try and you might win. But 99 out of 100 he wouldn't win, and he'd build his brand, and he'd be even more famous than ever. What he never imagined is that his statements would cause a firestorm, and every person in the world that does business with him would call him a racist, disassociate with him, and drop his ad campaigns, and drop their partnerships, and cut all ties to him. He never imagined he'd lose NBC as a partner, Univision, Campers World, NASCAR, PGA Golf Tour. Everybody in the world's abandoned Donald Trump. So that reminds me of the philosophy of my book, Power of Relentless. You will never succeed in life unless you burn the bridge behind you. You can't even give yourself an option of going back. If there is no bridge, you either make it or you die. That forces you to make it. Donald Trump may have entered this on a whim and thinking he had nothing to lose. Now he's burned the bridge, not through his own fault. Others destroyed the bridge for him, but in the end, he can't go back to business. He's got his $10 billion, but he ain't ever doing a business deal with any of those people ever again, and he's always going to look to them like a racist and too controversial, so he has no choice but to get elected president now. The bridge is burned, and I believe Donald believes he's going to win. For the first time this week, I believe he's going to win. I don't believe he's stoppable now. I really don't. If he could survive all the comments he survived so far, in particular the Megyn Kelly comment, in particular John McCain, when the base of the GOP is veterans, and he made that statement, and most veterans I know said, who cares? I love the guy. Meaning not John McCain, but Trump. I don't think he's stoppable. I think he's unstoppable at this point. And when I see that today in Alabama, they were supposed to have 1,000 people for Trump, and they had to switch to a football stadium because it's going to be closer to 40,000 showing up. Guys, this is a phenomenon.
Wayne, I think what the reason it is a phenomenon is he is saying the things that conservative America want the other 15 candidates to say.
Right.
But they're too afraid. What amazes me, Wayne, is somebody like Cruz, somebody like Walker, didn't pick up on the Donald Trump mantra and talk the same way.
I agree. So I do want to get in what I would do for immigration. I just want to let you know what I think is the right answer, by the way. Number one, build a wall, and nothing else at the moment even matters. All you have to say is we're building a wall, and until we build a wall, I'm not doing any favors for anyone already in the country. No way, Jose, do I do anything. Is there any reform of any kind or any nice bills passed to help until I build the wall and I spend 5 years proving that the wall is working? Until then, there's no reason to do anything for anybody. Why do I want to do you a favor? Mm-hmm. And then I would say you have to deport all illegal aliens who are convicted felons. Gone. That's a law from now on.
Well, they're all felons, in my opinion, because
I get it. But
because they've broken laws to get here.
But the ones who are convicted of real crimes all have to go. And then here's what I'd say about the ones who are still here. Here's the only nuance I have between me and Donald Trump. Otherwise, we agree on everything. The ones who are already here, you're never going to send 15 million people home. But what you could do, your answer was good. They will self-deport, as Mitt Romney used to say, if they can't get a job. But I go a step further. You can stay here and find a path to citizenship. You got lucky. You won the lottery. You're the luckiest person in the world. I'm not going to ship you home as long as you agree that you will never accept welfare in your lifetime. You have to give up food stamps. You have to give up welfare. You have to give up all rights to free health care.
Well, and if he had another caveat, they will never vote in an election because Wayne...
You didn't even let me get to it. Great minds think alike. That's exactly where I was going. And they can never vote. The moment you broke the law to get in the country, you gave up the right to ever vote. What kind of an idiotic country would allow a person to vote when they broke into your store? Now you allow them to force you to take care of them for the rest of your life because they get the same vote as your family members? You got to be joking. So I agree with you 110%. That's the answer. And I think, you came to America, you claim to work. You claim you didn't come here to suck off the system and be on welfare, and nobody comes to a country to vote. Is that what you dream of? Oh, I'm coming to America to vote. So you shouldn't mind if I take away your vote and I take away your ability to get welfare, but I leave the ability to work. God bless you. Welcome to my country. You got in on the lottery. That's my answer, and I think most Hispanics would stand up and cheer when you said that.
Wayne, one more question if you have time.
Yes.
Anchor babies.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll give you a compromise. I don't think you're going to ever get them to change the Constitution and undo permanently birthright citizenship. I think the fight we should be having is I demand we end birthright citizenship from now on, moving forward. Those who are already here, I'll let you stay if you this is all a negotiation.
Yeah.
You give me an end to birthright moving forward, the ones who are here now got to stay because you can't send them back when they've never even been to Mexico or Honduras or El Salvador. It's not their fault per se, but again, shouldn't be allowed to vote. I'm sorry, you gave up your right to vote when your parents had you illegally in the United States. So no voting, but you get to stay here forevermore, and you get to work here forevermore, and you do become a citizen. So I'm just going to stop that from ever happening again in the future by banning it in the future. I think that's the compromise I would go for.
All right, Wayne Allyn Root, always love having you on. And again, the book is The Power of Relentless. And Wayne, one more time, your website and where people can get the book.
Sure, I'll give you a relentless sales pitch, right? The Power of Relentless at root4america.com is where you get my free commentaries, and you can find out about the book as well. Root4america.com, ROOT, 4america.com, because what do I do all day? I root for America. And the book is at Amazon or any fine bookstore. Thanks, folks.
Wayne Allyn Root, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ken and Rick. Bye-bye.
Take care. God bless. Ken, I want to thank you for sitting in today as my co-host. I want to thank Mateo for working the boards, and I want to thank our audience for staying a few extra minutes by. I thought that was a great interview with Wayne Allyn Root. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on the radio. See you
Once again, liberal bigotry rears its ugly head. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, as of now, if you are a Christian high school graduate and are considering a higher education, just beware that the Community College of Baltimore has joined the growing list of American colleges and universities that openly discriminate against Christians. No more is it just the dirty look or a snide remark, but as Mather Clark of the American Center for Law and Justice put it, public colleges and universities are taking the gloves off when it comes to Christian students on their college campi. Christian students can now expect applications to be rejected if they let it be known that they are a person of faith. Now, if you are a unnatural sexual practitioner or a mangy Muslim at war with America and all non-Muslims, hey, no problem. You get to the head of the class. One Christian student, Brandon Jenkins, was flat out rejected at the Community College of Baltimore after honestly answering an admission interview question, what was the most important thing in his life? To which young Brandon answered, my God. Thus, he was quickly told, this is no place for religion. Funny thing, though, bigoted campus liberals didn't refuse any Muslim students strolling around. Gee, I wonder why. I'm Ron Edwards.